What's up, everybody? My name is Joe Brown, and this is the Heresy Financial Show. As you are most certainly aware by now, Elon Musk just made a massive purchase. He spent $3 billion, and he bought 9.2% of Twitter. Now, this announcement came on the heels of him posting very popular Twitter polls and asking questions on Twitter about what should be done about Twitter. First, he asked, do we have free speech on Twitter, basically? And when the results came back with a resounding no, he asked, what should be done about this? Do we need a new platform? What should be done? What is the solution? Well, very soon after, he announced he had purchased that massive stake in Twitter, while at the same time giving a big middle finger to the SEC, which I'll explain why in a moment. And I would like to focus on what this purchase means in terms of decentralized applications and how it doesn't make any sense to try and shoehorn blockchain, which is a monetary technology, into applications like social media. Instead, what we really need is free markets, and how this purchase highlights what the real solution is, especially once you get the incentives of the base of the system, the foundation, aligned correctly. Ready? Let's dive in. All right, so Elon Musk purchases 9.2% of Twitter, and I mentioned as a side comment that this was basically a big middle finger to the SEC. Now, we all know Elon Musk has had a very interesting history with the SEC, especially one of the most famous examples is when he tweeted that he was taking Tesla private at $420 a share and that they had funding secured. He got a big slap on the wrist from the SEC for that. And he paid a fine, and there were some stipulations about what he could and what he could not tweet about the company. And he's since made acronyms and jokes about SEC, and it means something for Elon's something, and they are not friends, to put it lightly. So in this filing, when you're going to make a purchase like that, you have to file with the SEC and say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Basically, in very simplified terms, there are two ways that you can report a purchase like this. One way is to say, hey, I'm just making a purchase. I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm just buying the company because I want to buy the company. I want to own it, and I'm not going to have any active role in the company. The other way to report it is is basically to say the opposite. Say, hey, I'm buying this because I want to have somewhat of an active role in the company and try and direct some of the things that they do. And when he reported this purchase, he said he was going to do it the first way. It was going to be a passive investment. He was not going to have any active role in the company. And given the tweets, the polls, and the announcements about things that are going to be changing soon on Twitter, like adding an edit button, it's pretty clear that his role is going to be a little bit more than passive. And so that filing it that way was kind of just a big middle finger to the SEC saying, hey, I don't like your rules and I'm going to get as close to the edge as possible, especially considering there's a gray area. It's not very clearly defined. So getting as close to the edge as he can with them to show them how much he dislikes them and their rules and the way that they enforce things. So that's number one. Number two, there are a lot of decentralized applications coming out today. There are a lot of new approaches to social media built with blockchain type technology in order to decentralize the application. And especially for social media, the thought here is that, hey, we've got censorship issues, we've got people getting canceled, we've got people getting kicked off of platforms, and the thinking is that the problem is that you've got somebody in control of the platform. That's not the problem, in my opinion. It's the same thing as a bakery. If you go into a bakery and you ask them to bake you a cake, and that baker says, no, I don't like the way you do X, Y, or Z. I don't want to bake you a cake. I don't want to take your money. I don't want to give you a cake. That's the exact same thing as a giant tech platform saying, no, I don't like the way you do or say X, Y, or Z. And so I'm not going to let you use my platform. It belongs to me. I can do that. The law has no right to enforce who I am allowed to or not allowed to or forced to give my labor or my time or my capital to. That's what a free market is. It's two individuals at its barest minimum having voluntary association or not, having the free choice to determine, are we going to spend time together or not? Are we going to transact? And am I going to give you one thing while you give me another thing, or are we not going to do that? That's what free markets are. And that's what private companies do. They provide a service. And long term, in the long game, it makes no sense to arbitrarily say, hey, we're not going to let these type of people use our services. We're not going to make our products for these types of people, because in the end, you're going to lose. You're going to lose to the competition that is going to do the right thing from a business perspective, which is be good to everybody, have good relationships with everybody, make products for everybody, right? And so in the long term, the long game, the free market incentive systems are aligned in a way where the baker that bakes cakes for everybody will outperform the baker that only bakes cakes for certain types of people. And the social media company that doesn't kick anybody off and doesn't censor will outperform and outcompete and win over the social media company who does. But guess what? I'm describing a free market, and that's not really the system that we live under. So the solution right now, many other people are trying to do a decentralized approach to this, where there's not somebody in control, where if you have your profile, nobody controls the system and can come at you and shut down your profile or stop you from saying something. Now, the problem with this is, number one, in implementation. It's going to be very hard to have something decentralized enough where you don't still have somebody in control in order to maintain the proper functioning of the system. Number two, this is a monetary technology. It is something that in its most base form, Bitcoin, works best as money. And so as we try and shoehorn that into other applications, you're going to run into problems. And that is why we still to this day have not seen any decentralized applications come up, especially versus social media, that can compete, because you're layering the complexity on and you're making your product inferior because you're trying to use a technology that is built for something else and shoehorn it into social media. The functionality is just never going to be as good as something that is just built to do exactly what it is supposed to do, like Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, etc. So what is the solution then if decentralized applications are just doomed to fail and the existing tech platforms have a virtual monopoly? Well, the solution is fix the money. If you trace things back to the very source, back to the foundation, we have a fiat monetary system. What does the fiat monetary system rest upon? It rests upon the fact that banks create money out of thin air through the expansion of credit. Banks loan money into existence. Now, there used to be a tie to physical commodities like gold that doesn't exist anymore. Banks now are backed by a central bank, which is just another way to say that banks expand the monetary supply by increasing the amount of credit in the system. They lend money into existence. That's true at the bank level. That's true at the bank for banks, which is the central bank in America, the Federal Reserve. So the monetary supply expands at the will of the banks. Now, why does this matter? Well, what do the big banks get to do with their money that they create out of thin air? They get to buy things. They get to invest it. They get to make money with it. They get to direct it how they see fit. And where the money goes, the power goes as well. And so we see now this incentive structure, this system that's built from the foundation, where there are a certain group of people, of institutions that have a monopoly on the creation of money. They can siphon purchasing power away from the economy and deploy it in the way they see fit, which gives them more capital, more resources, and more power. What this does is it aligns the incentives in the system for companies that want to profit to try and use that system. Instead of just being focused on creating the best product possible for the end user, companies are trying to go public. Companies are trying to raise money. Companies are trying to tap in to this unlimited source of pure potential money that can just overflow for infinity, just massive purchasing power that can be created out of thin air. They're trying to tap into that, get a little bit of the slice for themselves. And so they will bend over backwards, especially the larger they get, in order to get a monopoly on the service they provide in order to get a larger and larger piece of the infinitely expanding money supply. And the reality is most of Wall Street would not exist without a fiat standard. If you look at how large Wall Street has grown since We got cut off from the gold standard in 1971. It's ridiculous. The amount of energy, brain power, capital, human power, the amount of labor and time and money that goes in to banking and investing Wall Street overall. It is utterly astounding. It is a massive drain net on society, especially considering just one subset of this, which is foreign currencies. Zero value is provided to society by swapping one fiat currency for another fiat currency, yet there are trillions and trillions of dollars to be made in this business every single year from people just playing the arbitrage between the relative value of one fiat currency to another fiat currency. Again, zero value created for society, massive profit opportunity that only exists as a result of a fiat standard worldwide. If you want to know more about this, I highly recommend The Fiat Standard by Seyfedin Amous. Absolutely fantastic book. I've got it linked in the description below. In the end, what we need is to fix the money. If you fix the monetary system, you fix the incentives. And when the incentives are aligned with free markets and people having the freedom to choose voluntarily who they do and do not do business with, the best products win out over time. And in the case of something like social media, a product like Twitter, a product like YouTube, a product like Facebook or Instagram or whatever social media platform you're on, the one that censors the least and has the best functionality and the one that users prefer the most will win. And the fact of the matter is we can only be thankful that there are some people with enough resources to jump over the massive incentives that are pushing against the consumer. People like Elon Musk who have the resources to push past that, get over that, buy into a company with enough capital to be able to make a dent and say, I'm going to change this and I'm going to make this better for the end user. This is a very positive thing, not a negative one at all. As always, I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.